This isn't just a potato pancake, it's a textural triumph. A crispy crust conceals a melting cloud of juicy filling inside. A true, honest pleasure, one you'll want to repeat. In history, it's impossible to grasp the scale of an event without taking it out of context. The story of potato Zrazy isn't just the evolution of a recipe, but a chronicle of how potatoes conquered the lands of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, a chronicle of wars, environmental disasters, and human prejudices. Hi there, I'm Johanna, ready to dive in and learn the history and then the recipe for potato Zrazy. Let's start with a legend, which has its own interpretation in almost every European country. Only the characters change. In the history of the potatoes spread throughout the land of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, there's a tale of how one monarch decided to outwit the conservative nature of its own people. Realizing that neither orders nor persuasion would persuade them to grow this strange foreign fruit, he resorted to a subtle psychological ploy. Augustus III of Saxony ordered potatoes to be planted in a field near the palace, a high fence built around it, and armed guards posted around it. The fence was high and sturdy, with a gap at the farthest point. That sort of looked like a builder's mistake or a broken part. During the day, guards strictly ensured that no one could even approach. And at night, the field was left unguarded. The monarch's calculations were impeccable. Local residents, observing such extraordinary protection, quickly concluded, if the king guarded it like this, it must truly be a treasure. Under the cover of darkness, people began to regularly raid the royal fields. They stole the potatoes and secretly planted them in their own gardens, believing that they had outsmarted the king himself. In reality, this was just precisely what the ruler had intended. Through the theft, potatoes quickly spread to private farms and ceased to be suspicious among the people. Potatoes arrived in the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth after the Battle of Vienna in 1683. King Jan III sent some from Vienna as a gift to his wife. The king was an avid gardener, and potatoes were prized as an ornamental plant at that time. The Palace Chronicles of Versailles describe the potato thus: a star of snow with a sunbeam trapped in its heart, it yields no fruit for the belly, but feeds the eye with its purity. In letters to his queen, King Jan III Sobieski ordered potatoes to be planted in the best beds of his garden. Potatoes remained a delicacy for a long time. Peasants were afraid to plant potatoes on their lands. It was even said that potatoes spoiled the soil. The position of the church also didn't contribute to the spread of potatoes. The main argument of religious skeptics is that there is not a word about potatoes in the Bible. Since God didn't mention it among the gifts of the earth, it meant that this plant was foreign or even thrown by the devil. In the popular imagination, anything growing deep in the earth was associated with the underworld. The potatoes turned the world upside down. Its above-ground fruits, the green berries, were poisonous, while the edible part was hidden below. Peasants poisoned entire families by trying to eat the poisonous potato leaves and berries. In 1739, nature itself turned against humanity. The winter of 1739-40 was the coldest in 500 years, all thanks to a series of volcanic eruptions along the Pacific Ring of Fire. Volcanic ash blanketed the land and blocked out the sun. Winter crops froze, and even the fastest flowing rivers froze. The summer of 1740 never arrived. Eyewitness accounts report snow at the end of May. Then came the cold June. Frosty winds blew, sometimes sleet fell, and hail often blanketed the ground. The winter of 1740 to 41 was also extremely cold. The surviving crops were killed by the wet summer of 1741. This summer was also cold. Incessant rains caused rivers to overflow their banks and wash away the crops. The grain rotted in the ear before it had time to ripen. Cold and damp weather is ideal for the spread and development of ergot, a fungus that grows on rye and produces large, dark purple grains. During the famine, peasants could not afford to throw away contaminated grain, so they ate it. The effects of ergot are a true horror story. Due to powerful vascular spasm, limbs burn, turn black, and literally wither. The body writhes in excruciatingly convulsions, and the brain, ravaged by the poison, descends into hallucinations. Losing their limbs from the sensation of insects under the skin, the person lapses into psychosis, which for centuries was mistaken for demonic possession. Sporadic plagues often destroyed entire villages. There was no one to plow or sow, causing a second wave of famine the following year. During this dark time, the potato emerged as not just a decorative curiosity, but an important food crop. Sergei, our chef, was born in Belarus. Since childhood, he had known the folk tale of how people began eating potatoes. This tale perfectly captures the horror of that time and the mood of the people who lived then. That winter wasn't just cold, it was empty. Even the barking of dogs in the village had died down. The peasant Jakob's hut smelled not of bread, but of dust and old straw. The children by the stove didn't cry. They didn't even have the strength for tears. At the edge of the field, beyond the forest, there was a plot where, by order of the king, exotic potatoes had been planted. Everyone knew these were the devil's apples. The elders said they rotted blood, and the priests warned of punishment for eating what grew in the shade underground. Despite that, Jakob picked up his shovel. His hands trembled with exhaustion. One thought pounded into his head. If we are destined to die, let it happen quickly from poison, but with a full stomach. It's more merciful than watching the light go out of the children's eyes from hunger. He dug into the frozen earth, pulling out dirty brown potatoes. They were ugly, smelling of dampness and neglect. At home, he simply washed them and threw them into the oven. The whole family sat by the stove, staring into the cast iron pot as if it were a death sentence. When an unfamiliar Swedish earth aroma filled the hut, Jakob was the first to break open his potato. They ate in complete silence. It was their last supper. As he lay down to sleep, Jakob hugged his wife, certain they would never see the sun again. He closed his eyes with bitter relief. The agony of waiting for the end was over. Morning struck the window with a sharp, blinding white light. Jakob opened his eyes and didn't immediately realize he was alive. He heard a rustling sound on the stove. The children had stirred. Their movements were no longer as sluggish as before. The fear of the devil fruit gave way to the warmth that spread through his body. Jakob picked up his spade again, and the next day. And in the spring, they planted potatoes on their own land. Why not subscribe to stay up to date with incredible culinary legends? A series of grain crop failures and endless wars in the mid 18th century forced peasants and gentry to seek an alternative. It turned out that potatoes yielded many times more calories per square meter than rye, were less sensitive to soil conditions, and were harder for passing enemies to destroy. The church's attitude also changed. The clergy quickly realized that a hungry flock was a dying flock. It was the parish priests in small towns and villages who became the main advocates of the potato. From their pulpits, they explained to the people that the potato was not Satan's apple, but a gift from God, sent to save them from starvation. And don't forget the religious feasts. In those days, fasting lasted up to 200 days a year. The church officially approved the potato. It was an acceptable food for Lent. This became the green light for the development of recipes. This is how many excellent potato recipes emerged. One of them is potato Zrazy, a culinary legacy of a once great empire. They allowed for strictness of Lent to be observed while still maintaining the festive table's appearance. And the potatoes provided a feeling of fullness and gave strength for hard work. In fact, potato Zrazy is an entirely different dish, named after their meat counterpart. The incredible speed of the spread of potatoes and potato dishes is best conveyed by quotes from the notes of the first Polish historian who lived during those years. From 1730, under Augustus III, Jerusalem artichokes, which the Germans called perki or tertofel, began to multiply in Gdańsk and other regions of Gdańsk. In 1745, for a long time, Poles disdained potatoes, considering them unhealthy, and some even believed that eating them caused consumption. From 1763, by the end of the reign of Augustus III, potatoes had become so widespread in Poland, Lithuania, and Rus that they became a common food not only for the nobles and townspeople, but also the peasants, especially in the sandy soils where they thrive. This is a story of how potatoes saved people from starvation. And if you want to know the story of how potatoes failed people and triggered one of the largest waves of migration to America, or the legends of the potato's arrival in historical homeland, share them in the comments. Our chef has recipes from these countries. It was nice chatting with you. See you soon.
Hello, my name is Sergey. Let's start cooking. Enjoy! See you soon!